Good morning, world. I'm kidding. So here's what I'm thinking. As you know, this is St. Patrick's Day weekend, and everybody's thinking about coronavirus. Although this morning over at Albertsons supermarket, people were taking selfies in front of the Corona stack of beers. And there's lots of beer. You can get lots of beer, but you can't get lots of paper towels, napkins. They've got to the napkins now. And I didn't see many baby wipes either. See, I'm touching my face. I wore gloves into the store, and then I've learned how to take them off safely. And of course, people who are asymptomatic like me can still be contagious, which is the strange, stealthy thing about this coronavirus, COVID-19. So what I'm hoping actually is that I get it early and I get through it early, because one thing I'm pretty certain right now is that I can't say, oh, if I got sick, there's this one thing that I did that I shouldn't have done, and there's just no way for me to tell what that is. So the strange thing, of course, is that all the people are in the supermarkets. That's where everybody goes. It's twice as bad as Christmas or Black Friday, and everybody is buying bottled water and toilet paper, paper towels. Me, I'm buying soup. And the cool thing is, the kind of soup that I like, nobody else likes. So I'm buying like lentil, split pea, tomato basil, barley vegetable, beef and barley, not so much chicken noodle, also Manhattan clam chowder. Nobody likes Manhattan clam chowder. It's actually pretty good. So I got 14 cans, so that's enough for a couple weeks of lunches. So the big deal, of course, is that I'm putting together a resource, and then everything I blog about will probably be all Corona all the time. And I'm also reading Michael Osterholm's book, Our Biggest Enemy, I think that's what it's called. And he's the guy who did the investigation for toxic shock, and he also found the Brainerd diarrhea. So I think I'm up to chapter 6 right now. And I should finish this book by the end of the week, and I'll give you some other things. The one thing that I've got about 20 links to resources right now, and I've got, Michael Osterholm is my #1 go-to guy, and then there's another guy, Amesh. I can't remember Amesh's last name, Dr. Amesh somebody. So these will be my primary resources, as well as Osterholm's University of Wisconsin or University of Minnesota. I forget if he's Wisconsin or Minnesota. I think he's Minnesota. His resource, his think tank, which is about science and policy. Because you can think up the solutions, but if they're not implemented in policy, you got nothing. Again, I had a popular tweet over this weekend, and it's basically talking about why I'm not surprised that I can expect the government to be not responsive. And there's a couple things to keep in mind, and that is about risk management. Okay, so I've been reading Taleb about risk management for years now, and so I know he's on top of this. And I've been reading Vinay Gupta, who's also been looking at refugee camps and identification, and so he knows some things. And so I published up his slideshows, 175 slides. It's massive. But he's basically saying, what do you do when you recognize an institution is not well at handling risk? And when the government is not good at handling risk, then the risk transfers back to us. In other words, it's on us. Now, this is something that I fundamentally understood from going to CERT training and to the police academy, Citizens Police Academy, which is when the government resources are not responsive, it's up to you. You're on your own. And anybody who listened to the big lesson of Katrina is you're kind of on your own. If you're waiting for the government to rescue you, you're going to be waiting for a long time. Twiddle your thumbs and you know, have a brew. But you have to be ahead of that. And so that has been, you know, my proactive attitude, more or less since 9/11, but concretely since, I guess it's been about 6 or 7 years since I've begun what I call my military, my martial education. So this is about, you know, it's interesting as I'm listening to Osterholm's book, one of the things that he says is a quote from either Lincoln or MacArthur, I forget, which he says, truth is your biggest friend as long as you share it with the public. And then you have to have faith that the public is going to deal with the truth smartly. And so if you're waiting for the media to give you hints, you may be waiting or going the wrong way. And there's the devil is in the details. So you really have to find some experts who actually have experience dealing with the details of pathogens. And so that's what we're going to deal with now. And right now it's just like, who's got it, who doesn't have it, am I going to survive? And most of us are going to survive, of course. The great quote is like, if you believe in evolution, then you have to understand that evolution is an error-making, an error-correcting process. And you only have to be very slightly better at error-correcting than you are at error-making, and then you'll survive. So there's no question that we're going to survive. It's just going to be how many myths are going to be busted during this time, and how many people are going to spend their time being frustrated about the fact that these myths are busted, and then they don't trust anything or anybody, instead of, you know, having the resources that help them do that. So one of the things I want to do, which is a good artifact that I've already seen, is one that says when you have shown the symptoms of COVID-19, what happens to what percent of the people? You know, some of them have sore throats, some of them have elevated temperature, some of them, you know, have difficulty breathing. And when you get to the point where you have difficulty breathing, that's more severe. But they talk about the percentages of what happens in the mild cases and in the moderate cases and in the severe acute cases. So the one thing that I don't know is if you can catch this twice. So I heard something about herd immunity out of the UK, which I don't believe in. I take that very skeptically, but we'll investigate what people were scratching their heads over about that. But definitely want to get that artifact out. At least 10 references this week or this weekend, and then it's back to the work grind, which is going to be different. My daughter's going to be working from home. Everybody in her firm, which is software oriented, is going to be able to work from home. And it's kind of nuts that I see people are trying to do, I don't know, some of these off brands like Zoom, and you know, Amazon Chime is probably the best. Well, GoToMeeting is the best, and that's been out there for a decade. So GoToMeeting is obviously what you want to use. It's kind of expensive, but it works, and you can do video. And then lots of people have Slack. A lot of people have used Slack, and I heard Slack had some problems loading up Thursday and Friday. That may be the case. But you know, now that I think about it, I may use Notion to be my my fact-based place. That's a good place to publish it. Okay, I've got Notion. So if you see notion.so in this, I would see what I can do to make sure that you can read that. Other than the essays that I put in my blog for the deeper thinkers among us and people with a little bit more time. So anyway, this is Michael David Cobb Bowen, alive and well, 58 years old, and let's get through this. Like Willie Nelson says, you can't get over it. You got to get through it. Ciao.